Welcome to BPH Crafts. I'm Heather, known as Bunnyfish on Ravelry, Instagram, and YouTube, and Heather Laws on Vero. Today is Wednesday, the 28th of March, 2018, and this is episode 4. Grab some sticks and string and come sit with me. How have you guys been this week? I had kind of a rough week, and also I'm recording a day early because I have plans tomorrow. So I'll be going pretty much nonstop and won't have time to record tomorrow. So anyway, the reason why my week was rough is because on Monday I went to the dentist. And let's just go full disclosure. I haven't had dental insurance since high school, which means I haven't been to the dentist since high school. And in high school, I had a root canal because I drank a lot of soda, and I have really deep ridges in my molars. That's a thing apparently that I have. So anyway, the crown was improperly installed in the first place, and it fell out, and I just didn't go back to the dentist. So they did the extraction of the tooth remains on Monday. So Monday and yesterday, I was pretty much out of commission because that stuff hurts. And I don't take pain meds usually unless I absolutely have to. So, yeah, I didn't really knit a lot. I didn't really do a lot. Anyway, so I don't have anything finished to show you, which if I was recording tomorrow, I feel like I could probably finish one of the projects that I'm working on by tomorrow. But whatever, it's fine. Also, before we get into things, I don't think I'm going to record next week because next week is spring break for my kids. And that means that I will have anywhere between 2 to 5 kids here every day next week. And longtime viewers might remember how that used to work when I had my kids with me all the time. I don't think I'm going to try it, especially since I record in the living room and the TV's right there and they're going to be asking to watch the TV and stuff. So I might try to record little snippets on my phone next week and then edit them and upload them, but I don't think I'm going to do this. Unless I wake up really ridiculous early in the morning, which is a possibility. I woke up at 3:45 this morning. I had a bad dream. I don't even remember what it was about, and I remember that it wasn't even that bad, but maybe if I wake up in the middle of the night, my nephew's computer is accessible, I will record for you next week. But otherwise, in 2 weeks. Let's get into knitting, though, because I've been talking a lot. Like I said, no finished objects because it's the end of, it's right before the end of the month. So I'm kind of like scrambling to finish all of the projects. And I usually finish like 4 in one day. I only have 3 active works in progress though. So I'm not going to be finishing 4 in one day, but, yeah. So that's pretty normal if you're just getting into the swing of how my work goes. If you're a new viewer. So let me show you this beautiful blanket that I have on my lap. So this is the Undercover by BPH, and I have it on 3 needles right now, so I can kind of show you what it looks like. It is, it's bigger than, it's wide, it'll be wider than my cables are right now. I think this is a 32-inch or 36-inch needle. The center area where there's all this striping is a Karen Big Cake, which actually makes a pretty decent size. Like that would be the perfect size for a baby blanket, I think. So a Karen Big Cake in the middle, it is the Cookie Crumbles colorway. And then this area out here, this really wide stripe up here, is Karen 1 Pound in the off-white colorway. And I am 4 rounds away from finishing this. I do have all of this yarn left. I probably could have done another repeat, But I felt like making this border another, I don't know what that would be, about 2 inches wide would just be too wide for this, because I am doing another border in this gray color around the outside, which I think will be about half the size of this white border. Maybe, maybe not. You know how I like to just play it by ear. So this is also Karen 1 pound, but I don't know the colorway. I'm making an adjustment to the pattern, just trying something new, because I've made this blanket several times and I love how it turns out. But I thought, what if I don't have these open holes, and instead have close those yarn overs by knitting through the back loop on the outside to make it just one final leaf pattern, and not have the lace openings like I normally do. So I don't know how it's going to turn out. I'm liking it so far. I will decide after I finish it if I like that better than having the lace openings all the way up. It's a really, I cannot recommend this blanket pattern enough. It is kind of floral, so maybe not for everybody, but it's not flowery. It's got these really nice petals, and it's not super lacy either. I think that it's kind of a more gender neutral lace pattern, and it's so easy that we went to see Ponyo in theaters this weekend, because I don't know where everywhere is, or what it is for everywhere, but at least where I'm at, and states around me, Fathom Events is putting on Ghibli Fest this year. So every month they have, now through, well, I think it started last month. So February through November, they are showing a Studio Ghibli film in the theater, so on a large screen. And it is a premium price ticket instead of, we went to a $12.55 show of Ponyo, and instead of it being $6 a person, it was $12.50 per person. But whatever, totally worth it, because all of the kids love Studio Ghibli, and my sister and I are obsessed with it too. And she hadn't seen Ponyo before because, okay, I'm just gonna backstory. So my sister and I used to rent My Neighbor Totoro every single weekend when we went to our dad's house, every single weekend, to the point where the store finally just gave it to us because we were the only people renting it, and we rented it every single weekend. So my dad had paid for it like 5 times over or something by that point. So anyway, we used to watch that every weekend. And I've had my kids watching Ghibli movies for a while, and her kids have seen some of them, not as many as my kids have seen. And I have not the entire collection, but a pretty good collection on DVD. But my sister just hasn't seen as many as I have. So it was her first time seeing Ponyo, and it was kind of hilarious because after the movie, she was like, "So this is basically a movie about your daughter." And I was like, "Yeah, basically my daughter is Ponyo. Very stubborn and headstrong and does things her own way." And yeah, it was a really fun time. I really enjoyed it with her. And anyway, I didn't really have movie appropriate knitting. So I took this to the theater with a barn raising square and knit on this in the theater because it's a really easy pattern repeat once you know it, and I've knit this blanket like 4 times now, so I have it. I do have to look at the pattern just for the starting, the very center, but then after that it's super easy. And yeah, this should be totally doable. No, all of my works in progress will be to the point that I want them by the end of the month, which is not necessarily finished for all of them, but this one will be finished in the next couple days. Also, I have my black socks, which are the How Come That Blood by Adam Kaczynski. And, oh, I didn't show you how far I got on this. Well, last week I had just started this first repeat, so I've done this much on the blanket approximately. Okay, so let me show you how much I've done on the How Come That Blood. That was here, I worked down here, which includes putting in the heel, so pretty decent progress. That's like a third of a sock in a week. I can knit a pair of men's socks in 24-ish hours. Was it 28 maybe? With having 2 small children running around and stuff. Once upon a time, Josh, who is sort of a knitter and the designer behind Geoknitrix, he and I had a race. So I can knit socks quickly. I just don't bother because why? I've really enjoyed this cabling part. I'm to the point where there's no more cabling and you just work in ribbing down the foot. So it'll zoom. This will be easy to finish by the end of the month. Also, I'm using Knit Picks fingering, stroll fingering in the Red Wing Blackbird hand painted colorway. So I'm going to have a fair bit of yarn left over, which is great because, you know, I like to use them in all of the leftover yarn in all of my scrappy projects, which are a lot. I don't really have much to say about these socks since I've been talking about them all month. Yeah. Next week they'll be finished though, or 2 weeks from now they'll be finished. It's a really good carry around project because even when there is cabling, it's not anything that you need a cable needle for. So it's very easy to just do and take with you. I'm really, really enjoying this pattern. And then my last active work in progress is the Even Star. So fun story about the Even Star is I ran out of yarn for the body of my shawl because I'm doing it in this Classic Elite Yarns Silky Alpaca, I think it is. In the colorway is the number. So this is how much I have left. And this is how it's looking so far. But very fortuitous, I made it to a place where I think is a natural stopping point, right? Like that looks complete. That motif is complete. It looks like it could be where the chart ends. This is, I want to say around 48 or something in the pattern. It's actually round 48 and then round to 71 because there's 71 rounds in chart 3. I just cut out those last rounds, first of all, because I ran out of yarn. And this is what I'm using for my edging. And I'm sure that this is plenty to do the border because it's, I don't know, I think it's only about this wide all the way around. So I'm sure this is plenty. But I didn't want to just have this random weird section at the end in black, and I don't want to run out and then have to try to frog this because this is also an alpaca, and alpaca doesn't rip terribly, but it doesn't rip super well. It's an alpaca silk blend. I don't know what it is. The tag is in the middle, so when I get to the end of the project, I will pull out the tag and let you know what it is. I bought this a really long time ago too. I bought this probably 2 months after I got onto Ravelry. So I think that was in 2013. So maybe 2012. That was a long time ago. So yeah, this has been in the stash forever, and they wound it up in the store. So it's been in a cake for a long time, but it's a squishy cake, so it's probably fine. We'll see how it does once it blocks. I'm okay though with where it stopped. I am going to do at the end of chart 3. I hope this isn't giving away too much of the secret sauce. There's 4 rounds that make 2 garter ridges. So I am going to do, I did 1 garter ridge in this purple. I'm going to do the second in the black before I start the border. So rude. And then the border has beads and everything. I am going to put this aside for the next couple days to finish these 2 projects. And then I will pick this up and work on it in April and finish it by the end of April so I can wear it to that wedding. It's going to happen. My works in progress, I'm going to show you a modular project now, and then I'm going to talk about a book. And then I am going to, at the end, talk about my ideas for next month, since I'm not going to have, maybe not going to have a podcast next week. And next week is the start of April. And that's when I start all my new projects. So the project I'm going to talk about, the modular thing I'm talking about this week, is my green and blue based mitered square blanket. I'm making it for me, and I am making it on US size 1, 2.25 millimeters with fingering weight leftovers. I am only using each yarn one time in this blanket, so it's going to be a lot of scraps, and it is a 35 stitch cast on for the mitered squares, and I'm using Shelly King's recipe blanket thing for the basis. So here is the part that I'm working on right now. As you can see, I have ridge going out this way and a ridge going out this way. All of the ridges in the 5 block segment that makes up each bigger block all go in the same direction. So this is what I'm working on right now. I do have 2 finished blocks. I think ideally I want this to cover my queen size bed, but I might just make it into a throw for myself. I haven't quite decided. I am going to pick up stitches around each block and knit the equivalent of quilt sashing in between each. So this is a piece that is what the piece that I'm making right now is going to turn into. So it's these 2 5 by 5 blocks that are joined together right here. And this is going to be a side sashing or something. I haven't quite figured out how I'm setting up the blanket. But once I get these blocks figured out, then I will decide if I want to add more on a side or more on the top, something like that. Because there's going to be a center block and then 4 outside blocks. And then I don't know if I'm going to do the corners as their own blocks or if I'm going to extend side blocks up or the top and bottom blocks out to finish that. I haven't decided yet. It's kind of ideas. But that's one of the tentative starts of a side block. And then this is where it started. This is a center block. So this is 100 little mitered squares. And yeah, that's my center. As you can see, some of these squares are more blue and green than others. The only rule is that there has to be blue and or green in the yarn. So let's see, like this one just has little blue and green stripies. So I just had a mini panic attack because I totally forgot to grab a block. And this block is special because it is made almost only using yarn from Haley from our Advent swap this past Christmas. The exceptions are this one, which I made a pair of socks for her and myself for Christmas. And then this I added in, I made another pair of socks for Christmas using this. And those were just because the yarns that she sent for those 2 particular days were not blue or green, which is fine because that wasn't a rule that we made. They just happen to be a lot of blues and greens or have blues and greens in a lot of them. So yeah, I added in those, but sometimes it's a little less easy to see that there's blue and green in these. So But as long as I know there's blue and green, it's in the spirit of the blanket. So let me talk about my ideas for works in progress next month. And by ideas, I mean what I'm doing. So first off, I'm going to finish the Even Star with all the bajillion beads and the black yarn. And I'm crazy because I need it to be finished by about the 24th, so I have time to block it. It's fine. It'll be fine. So in addition to that, I'm going to be making, a pair of socks out of Peyton's Croy yarn in the tourmaline stripes. So it's kind of a grayish. Next month, I feel like I have too many projects planned in my head because April is going to be crazy. We are going to see 2 movies for sure. So that's 2 days that I need to have movie knitting, which is kind of why I pulled out these Croy socks, because I don't mind so much knitting those without a pattern because they go very quickly. I'm probably still going to throw a pattern on there, but something easy. So 2 days of that. I am going to Kentucky twice. I have kids who will be on spring break the first week of April. So my crafting time is going to be a little bit squished this month, and yet I'm still planning on doing 6 or 7 projects, finishing 6 or 7 things. So those are 2. Number 3 is the next string band hat. So it's these blues and purples and greens in this one, and black for the contrast color. I have a design project for a pair of socks using the leftover Nooch in Unresolved and Leading Men Fiber Arts in London Fog. I'm pretty excited about those socks. I've been wanting to cast them on all month, but no, not until I get both of these works in progress projects finished. But maybe before the end of the month if I do that. And then I have this yarn that I frogged from a knit swirl sweater. I want to make myself a Sarah out of this, which is a really easy pattern, but it's not mindless. It is something that until I get pretty significantly into the sweater, you have to do a lot of paying attention because the sleeves are set in, and so all of this has, you can't even see around the basket, sorry. So all of this up here has stuff going on every row or every other row, and then there's some increases that happen every 4th or 6th row. It's a lot to keep track of, so that's not a mindless project. And then the last thing, so that brings me up to 5. So number 6 is a work in progress that its time has come. I just need it to be finished. So this is some spinning. And I have not been consistently spinning since, I don't know, just after I moved up here, I think, from Kentucky. So this is my plying spindle, and my children broke the shaft. I got this spindle to test out for Jen of Daisy Knits, and it works great. She had them 3D printed. I really, really like the spindle. My kids broke the shaft, so I'm just using a chopstick. And this is what I have to ply. Not completely, this is not everything I have to ply, but this is what I have ready to ply right now. I am chain plying it. Oops, just threw that on the ground, no big deal. So on the bottom, you can see the single, maybe you can see it. And then up here on the top is the plied yarn. Just set this right here. And then, so I have that in just this little crocheted basket wrist holder thingy. And then the fiber that I'm spinning from is in this beautiful Japanese knot style bag that Jerry made for me, and I love it. So this fiber, I don't think I've even told you, is from the Painted Tiger, and it is a silk merino blend, I believe. Let me look. No, BFL silk. It's about 3 ounces, and this is all I have left to spin into singles. So I have this much spun, I have this much to go, I have this much already plied, and I just have that small ball also of singles to ply. So why isn't this finished? Who knows? Who knows? But if I spin 15 to 30 minutes every day next month, it should be easy. We'll see if I actually do it. But it would be nice to have a spinning finish because I haven't had one of those in a really, really, really long time. And I like spinning. I just, if it's not in my face and I'm not thinking about it, I'm not going to make the time to do it. So those are my ideas for next month. That's what I want to finish. I think that's totally doable. I used to do, just for frame of reference for those of you who just came to watching this podcast, I used to spin a 4-ounce braid every month on a spindle, in addition to probably 5 or 6 knitting projects. So this is not a thing that I can't do, and I'm not even putting that much spinning on myself because, you know, this is probably more than 50% finished. I just need to do it. I just need to get back into the habit of spinning. I don't know. I don't have a really good setup, I guess, for spinning. Not that I need a setup, but I need them to be visible. Maybe I will, well, this spindle is definitely going to be on my shelf where I can see it. Maybe I will try to bring up my other work in progress spinning projects. Sounded weird in my head when I said it. Maybe I'll try to do one of those, maybe not every month, but like every other month this year. Try to finish those off because I have probably 6 that I've been working on for a long time, and there's one that's an 8-ounce spin, but the others are 3 to 5 ounces. So not that big. Okay, now I'm going to talk about the book that I have been enjoying this week. It is Miranda and Caliban. I don't know how to pronounce this name. I should, because they are characters from The Tempest, which is a Shakespeare play, but I've never read it. I'm like the worst theater student ever because I just don't read a lot of plays. I like to see plays and I like to work on plays, but I don't like to read them. So I haven't seen this one. So this story, I don't know any of the backstory to, but it is written by Jacqueline Carey, who is one of my favorite authors. Once upon a time in the podcast, I went on like a 20-minute rave about how much I love her. So let's just say that I love Jacqueline Carey and I love almost everything she's written, with a couple exceptions because she has a distinct style, but she flavors her style every once in a while, and I don't particularly love all of the flavors, which is fine. I am super enjoying this one. So for those of you who don't know, because maybe you don't, Miranda is the daughter of Prospero from The Tempest. And the book starts when she's about 6, and she grows up on this island, and there are only 2 other people on the island, her father, and then this wild boy, Caliban, who her father ensorcels, kind of. not completely. He still has free will, but the father can punish both of the children using spells because he has locks of their hair in lockets around his neck. So I'm not super far in. How far am I? 168 of, I think, 384. I'm going to guess 384. Something like that. So just about halfway. And I am really, really enjoying this book. I have been taking it to the gym and reading. I haven't gone to the gym since Monday morning because yesterday it definitely wasn't happening. And then this morning I was like, well, maybe. But then I started cleaning my house and I was running around like a crazy person. And I was like, oh, no way can I actually work out with this, because I can feel the pain starting to build as I'm working more, as my blood pressure or heart rate or whatever is changing. So no gym. So less reading on this than there otherwise would have been. But I really, really like it. I highly recommend Jacqueline Carey if you like epic fantasy, if you like retellings of certain stories, like obviously The Tempest. I can't think of anything else off the top of my head. But I really, really, really enjoy her books. And in case you read the Kushiel's books, and well, if you read them, you know that they are fairly sexual. This one so far is not, because two of the three main characters are children. In fact, last night I was reading and Miranda just got her first mens. So she's now officially a woman. So we'll see if there's any sex involved as I read it, or I will see. But so far, halfway through, there hasn't been, in case that would turn you off, because the Kushiel's cycle is fairly sexual. I think that's all I have to talk about this week. Oh, I'm just going to mention that I did enjoy the rest of the audiobooks that I was reading last week. I'm on the final playaway, but I enjoyed the first two, not as much as I enjoyed Wonder, but probably just because they're all together and I'm ready for something else. But I am listening to it in my car at parent pickup, so it's fine. It's not like I have to sit down and read it and force myself to read it. Okay, so for real this time, I hope you made something fantastic with your sticks and string, and I will see you next week. Bye.